Idris Elba had been on countless talk shows over the years, but something about that morning felt strangely heavy. The air outside ITV studios was crisp, the sky a washed-out gray, and the usual chatter of fans waiting by the entrance seemed muted. Idris tugged on the sleeve of his jacket, glanced at his assistant, and sighed. "Let's just get this over with," he murmured. His new charity campaign was supposed to be the highlight of the week. A simple interview. A routine appearance. Nothing controversial. Yet the producer's email the previous night hinted that Lorraine's team wanted to address certain rumors. Idris hated vague warnings. Inside the studio, Lorraine Kelly was already mic'd up, scanning her cue cards with a tight smile. She had been in the business for decades, and though she was known for her warmth, she also had a talent for digging where no one expected. "Morning, Idris," she greeted cheerfully as he walked onto the set. But even through her smile, Idris sensed tension. "Morning, Lorraine. Always good to see you," he replied, settling into the chair. The cameras rolled. The lights brightened. The iconic theme music faded. Another episode of Lorraine began. Lorraine started politely enough, praising his recent humanitarian work, acknowledging his contributions to youth programs, even complimenting his latest film. But Idris noticed she repeatedly glanced at a particular blue card separated from the rest. He knew exactly what that meant. "So, Idris," Lorraine said finally, picking up the blue card, "there's something the public has been very curious about." "Here it comes," Idris thought. "There are reports," she continued gently, "that you walked off the set of your last film due to a disagreement with the director. Some say it got heated." She paused for dramatic effect. "Care to clear the air?" Idris leaned back, jaw tightening. "I knew someone would bring that up." "Well, it's news," Lorraine defended. "People want to know if everything's all right." "It was a creative disagreement," he said coolly. "Nothing more. But the tabloids twist things. You know that." Lorraine offered a sympathetic nod but pressed on. "But the director himself hinted you were unprofessional that day." The studio air thickened. Even the crew shifted uneasily. Idris's eyes darkened. "Unprofessional. I spent 14 hours on set that day, Lorraine. 14. And when I asked for a break, he snapped at me as if I was some rookie." He shook his head. "I won't apologize for asking to be treated like a human being." Lorraine let out a soft hum, the kind she used when she wasn't convinced. "Some viewers felt you've been a bit short-tempered recently." "Short-tempered," Idris repeated, unable to keep the frustration from his voice. "Working non-stop for months would make anyone tired." Lorraine shifted in her seat, aware she had struck a nerve. "But she didn't stop. And the interview last week, where you abruptly ended the call. That was because they played a prank on me live on air," Idris snapped. "I warned them I wasn't in the mood. They ignored it." The tension, once subtle, now pulsed visibly. The audience, usually relaxed, watched in stunned silence. Lorraine cleared her throat. "I'm just doing my job, Idris. And I'm trying to talk about my charity," he retorted. "But every question so far has been about gossip. Rumors. Drama. That's not fair," Lorraine replied, her voice rising slightly. "We highlight your work all the time. But today you want headlines," Idris cut in. "You want a clip that goes viral. That's what this is about." Lorraine's expression hardened. "If you're implying I'm exploiting you, that's—" "I'm not implying," he said firmly. "I'm saying it outright." A collective gasp rippled through the studio. Even Lorraine looked momentarily stunned. Off camera, a producer gestured wildly, mouthing, "Move on. Move on." But the damage was done. Lorraine's tone cooled. "Idris, if you're unhappy, you can leave." He stared at her. "Maybe I will." The room froze. Lorraine, realizing the escalation was reaching dangerous levels for live television, attempted to regain control. "Let's take a breath," she said, forcing a smile. "We're live, remember." Idris stood. Lorraine's smile faltered. "Idris, I came here to talk about saving children's lives, Lorraine," he said sharply. "Not to defend myself against cheap tabloid drama." The cameras scrambled to follow him as he stepped away from his chair. "Idris, please," Lorraine tried again. But he didn't look back. The producer cut to an emergency commercial break, but viewers at home had already witnessed enough to spark a social media wildfire. Behind the scenes, Lorraine tossed the blue card onto the table and rubbed her temples. Producers rushed around, phones buzzing frantically. "What do we do?" someone whispered. Get him back, another said. No, Lorraine murmured, still staring at the empty chair. He won't come back. Idris, already near the exit, pushed open the door and stepped into the hallway, his heart hammering with a mix of anger and regret. How did it get this bad? He muttered. But deep inside, he knew this confrontation would not end in the studio. The fallout would spread far beyond the morning broadcast. And someone, maybe Lorraine, maybe Idris himself, would have to face the consequences. Outside the studio, Idris paced back and forth beneath the weak morning sunlight. His breaths came sharp, his hands still shaking with the leftover adrenaline of the confrontation. He had never walked off a live show before. Not once in his entire career. The weight of what he'd done sank deeper with every passing minute. His assistant, Maya, hurried after him. Idris, wait, please. He stopped only when she stepped directly into his path. Do you want the truth or comfort? He asked. Maya frowned. The truth. He gestured back toward the building. That was a mess. She sighed. Yes, but you weren't wrong. That doesn't matter, Idris muttered. People won't care about context. They'll care about the clip. He pinched the bridge of his nose. I walked off Lorraine Kelly's show. That's going to follow me everywhere. Before Maya could respond, her phone buzzed again, another notification, another headline. Idris didn't need to see it. He could imagine them all. Idris Elba storms out of interview. Lorraine Kelly left speechless after actor's outburst. Charity segment ruined by clash. He exhaled heavily. Meanwhile, back in the studio, Lorraine Kelly sat frozen in her dressing room. The door was closed, the lights dimmed, and she held the same blue card Idris had accused her of weaponizing. Why did I push him? She whispered to herself. A knock sounded. Her producer, Dan, poked his head in. Lorraine, everyone's talking about it. We need a response before noon. Lorraine shook her head. I didn't want things to get ugly. I was doing the job. Dan hesitated. The network wants a statement. Something calm. Something that doesn't escalate. Lorraine's eyes softened. Do you think I humiliated him? Dan gently took the card from her hand. I think you underestimated how exhausted he is. Lorraine sighed. Then maybe I owe him an apology. Across the street, Idris lowered himself onto a bench. The anger was fading now, replaced by something heavier, guilt. Not because he regretted calling out the behavior, but because he knew millions had been watching. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. It's Lorraine. Can we talk? Idris stared at the screen. He didn't reply. Minutes passed. Another message arrived. I didn't mean to disrespect you. Please call me when you can. He swallowed. Part of him wanted to ignore it and move on. Let the PR teams handle the fallout. But another part, the part that had always been honest, sometimes to a fault, knew he couldn't leave things hanging. Let's walk, he said to Maya. A few blocks away, they slipped into a quiet cafe. Idris ordered tea he barely tasted. His thoughts swirled. You should talk to her, Maya urged gently. Clear it up before the tabloids twist everything. Idris tapped the table. One call. Nothing more. Meanwhile, Lorraine had retreated to a small corner of the studio, phone in hand, rehearsing what she might say. The tension of the morning still hung over her like a storm cloud. When her phone rang, she nearly dropped it. Idris, she breathed. Morning, he said. His voice was calm now, but distant. We should talk. Yes, she replied quickly. I shouldn't have pushed you like that. It wasn't fair. Idris leaned back. And I shouldn't have walked off. You were provoked, she admitted. I didn't intend for it to feel like an attack. The silence stretched, not uncomfortable, just heavy. Finally, Idris exhaled. Look, I care about my reputation. Not for ego. For the people watching. And today made it look like I'm losing control. You're human, Lorraine said quietly. Sometimes we forget that. Her honesty softened him more than he expected. I appreciate you saying that, Idris murmured. Lorraine hesitated. Would you consider coming back tomorrow? Off air, just to talk. No cameras. No audience. Just us. Idris considered it. A private conversation could fix things, or open new wounds. But it felt necessary. All right, he said at last. Tomorrow. Lorraine exhaled with relief. Thank you, Idris. After they ended the call, Idris felt something lift from his chest. Not the whole weight, but enough. That evening, social media exploded with debate. Clips of the confrontation spread across platforms, but so did messages defending Idris, praising his honesty, calling out the pressure celebrities faced on live television. By nightfall, both Idris and Lorraine released brief statements asking fans to stay respectful and avoid personal attacks. But neither statement revealed what tomorrow would bring. And as Idris prepared for the private meeting, a new thought gnawed at him. What if someone leaked the off-air conversation? What if the damage was already bigger than he realized? Tomorrow would decide whether the incident became a footnote or a full-blown scandal.